well-known film, television and theatre actress, writer and director Gopi Desai says the current revival in Gujarati cinema is still in its nascent state and it will be some time before it begins to make the kind of national and international impact movies in other languages are making. A winner of two national awards for her 1992 film Mujhse Dosti Karoge featuring Irrfan Khan, Desai has had a long and distinguished career in theatre, television, and movies. Although she has a few scripts ready to go, as well as a film stuck at the editing stage for lack of finance, she believes possibilities are opening up for independent filmmakers like her. She was most recently seen in director Hansal Mehta's hit Netflix series Scoop, where she portrayed the maternal grandmother of the protagonist, Jagruti Pathak, played by Karishma Tanna. Gopi Desai was visiting Chicago as a jury member of the just concluded Vadilal International Gujarati Film Festival, hosted by Kaushal Acharya of Mumbai and supported in Chicago by Hemant Brahmbhatt, publisher and owner of High India News Weekly. She spoke to Mayank Shah Reports. I want to start with the fact that you are trained both as a National School of Drama actor as well as Film and Television Institute of India actor. Those are two completely different disciplines in terms of the technicality of what you do, because one is confined to a space, as in theater. It's a limited stage that you're working on, it's live, there is no retake. On the other is full of craft and how you position yourself and where you are vis-a-vis the camera, and all sorts of technicalities come in. Tell me, someone who's trained in both these disciplines, how have you navigated it?
You see, in a way, there is a similarity in the sense that the space plays very, very important role, like on stage and in front of for camera frame also. And the placement of camera. And the best part is that theater is theater, but cinema is combination of all the arts, the last art form. So you have colors, you have compositions, you have content, you have architecture, you have painting, sculptures. It's combination of all art forms put together. That is cinema. And of course, it has drama, cinema, whatever you create, if it's a fiction. So it helps if you're trained in theater, where your movements, your actors, handling with actors, your performances, and you dealing with the compositions, which plays best and very significant part. So getting trained in theater and then moving to cinema was a fantastic and additional journey in a way. And we were lucky enough to have Mr. Ibrahim Al-Qazi, who was a school himself. And we could learn a lot. And it wasn't just the drama, because in drama also he would teach us paintings and sculptures and colors and architecture. So him being a teacher also helped a lot. And during my 3 years of National School of Drama, which was Mr. Al-Qazi's uh, vision, and from first year onwards, there used to be 1.5 months film appreciation course in National School of Drama, which we were supposed to attend. So we were exposed to world cinema, and morning till night the screening of the films, and we had best film appreciation people. That was Mr. Nair and Satish Bahadur. So those seeds were there, from the beginning. बीज नंखाई गया था, बीज रोपाई गया था. And It was in Film Institute Pune. It was television and cinema both, and it helps a lot to create drama, to communicate, to building moments. That theater training adds much more. I hope I've answered you correctly. And
No, you did. You did. I get the sense when I listen to a lot of NST trained actors that somehow the presumption is, even when you are at the NST, the presumption is that you would graduate to cinema. It's almost like a stepping stone. And if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Alkazi may not necessarily have been very pleased with the idea that actors come here and then blossom into cinema actors. What was your experience there?
yes, it changed when I was studying and when I passed out. That notion didn't exist. But eventually, over a period of time, it did become sort of a stepping stone to cinema. And after passing out, the very next day, students used to just come to Mumbai and start living and start looking for work in Mumbai. That has been the trend for past couple of years. But somebody like me, I didn't want to join repertory, because I was married then, and I went back to Ahmedabad and I joined ISRO, which had that experimental satellite project for rural villages in Gujarat. So I joined that I as a production assistant and worked. And in the evening, my husband and we had a theater group
Right.
called Chorus. So extensive theater we did. And my husband was dedicated. He was also working in ISRO, but he was working as a producer and I was production assistant. So extensive theater was done. Then when all this was going on, and every Friday, we used to get amazing review, I mean, after performance, the next Friday. And this went on for a year or so, 1.5 years, after coming back from National School of Drama. And Suresh Bhai used to write in Times of India, and more or less the same audience. We also did a lot of performances in School of Architecture, in
Yes.
open air theaters, and of course in Proscenium, all the theaters of Ahmedabad. We used to travel with plays. But I felt I start getting suffocated, Same audience, same wawa, same, oh, very good, very good, and same reviews. So I wanted to extend and I wanted to go beyond it. And I was thinking of going to Bombay, not for films, but just for expansion, just for the experience. Because Ahmedabad, I felt suffocated and it was like constraining, Same thing, like this visual arts center,
Right.
Umang Hati Singh's, used to perform there, and the interaction with the writers and poets, Lav Shankar Thakur to Chinubai to painters, the entire group, that fraternity. But I wanted to move, and luckily, one fine day, Mr. Praveen Joshi was there from INT in Ahmedabad, which every year they used to come and perform. And Sarita Joshi was pregnant then with her daughter, Purvi. And Praveen Bhai said, "Ki tu Mumbai chal."
Hmm.
I said, I couldn't believe. I thought I'm dreaming or something. And he said, you join INT because Sarita will not be able to perform for a couple of years. So you come and take Sarita's position. And I said, my goodness, what is he talking about? And I just jumped to that opportunity. And during my NSD years also, Sitanshu Yashash Chandra was with Sahitya Academy. And Uma Shankar Bhai, Swati Ben Joshi, his daughter, was a professor in Delhi. So my 3 years were surrounded, and Sahitya Academy was hardly any distance from National School of Drama in Mandi House. So in free hours, I would go and sit in front of Sitansh Bhai and say, "Okay, Sitansh Bhai, now tell me, ab bataiye kya padhun? Tell me what to read, what to do," and talk with him. And evenings were spent a lot of time, especially weekends, with Umar Shankar Bhai. And that was the time when Praveen Bhai used to visit Delhi. So it was a lovely small group kind of a thing, where I was stupid and idiot and very young. But I got that exposure talking to them, meeting to them, which has stayed. And it obviously helps with such
Right.
scholars eventually. And I came to Mumbai and I again started with theatre, with INT. And you see, doing theatre in Ahmedabad, an amateur theatre, you bringing trunks and people's shoes and costumes and sets and everything. You're lifting the trunks and doing it, including backstage and on stage. But here in INT, like there was an attendant given who would put my slippers and my sari in hangers and do my hair and all that. So it was like, oh, first time I realized that theater is luxury also. And plus, thick cover at the end of the show, the money.
Yes.
I said, oh my goodness. So I worked with INT for a couple of years and also did extensive theater after Sarita Ben. Thank God that in terms of payment, I was the one who used to get that very fat cover, at the end of the show. And for me, like it was boom. It wasn't so, Bombay wasn't so costly.
Right.
So, and we used to have Friday, Saturday, Sunday ticket shows. Now we have this tradition of sponsored shows and what they call it sold out shows. But those shows were comparatively very less. So we used to do 3 shows in a day, morning, afternoon, evening. And so I had gala time earning money from theater.
Obviously, it's clear that you were so steeped into theatre, both in Ahmedabad and Bombay at that point. What prompted you to take the next step towards the FTI and eventually, of course, cinema?
Well, FTI was affiliated course with NST.
I see.
So in third year, we were sent to Pune.
Okay.
So that was over. But that was the beginning of what you call it art cinema or the new cinema movement. And I happened to be there. So, and we used to go to Prithvi and sit at Prithvi Theatre and doing theatre. And I was picked up by Shashi Kapoor for Utsav and worked with Ramesh Sippi. Small roles, but it started like that. And it was an additional income. And I told them, "Okay, look, I have shows and Gujarati Theatre performs, and wherever the show is, I have to be there for the shows." Then they used to say, okay, we'll accommodate. And National Film Development Corporation was also very active. So, but still, Mayank Bhai, getting 5,000 rupees
Right.
from cinema,
Yeah.
one felt like, oh my God, life is made types. So that is how I joined cinema. And then one had seen world cinema in National School of Drama and of course in FTI. Every
Right.
single evening, 2 screenings till midnight. And after that, when I also was doing theater in Ahmedabad, before coming to Mumbai, every year on my own, I used to go in month of June and July. They used to have, which was supposed to be summer vacation for the institute. They used to conduct, even now they do it, film appreciation course.
Right.
So I used to go there and attend that. And it was like recharge, recharging yourself and connection with cinema and watching it as a student. And then it happened, I did theater for several years. But cinema, I was fascinated with. And sometime in 1984, I started with my non-fiction films. And at that point of time, Gujarat government, which is their information department,
Right.
used to make films on 35 films. So I used to work, do research, and submit a film. And one after the other, I started making non-fiction films on 35 mm. And at that time, it was Moviela editing machine,
Right.
if you're aware of it. You
Yes.
have to, you were supposed to run it with your leg, press
Yes.
it. You stand, and such a small screen, and the machine used to make so much noise that you could barely hear what is going on in that frame. But once started with it, so if I say it in Gujarati, સરકારના ખર્ચે અને જોખમે. It was their risk and their cost.
એ બહુ સરસ વાત.
So I learned, and then I couldn't think anything beyond cinema. And then I didn't have time for theater, and I was absorbed, and I was breathing cinema and non-fiction film. And that is how, when I'd gone once for non-fiction film, again for Gujarat government, in Kutch,
Right.
that Banni area, which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
close to Pakistan border. So I did a film. It was called Rehvasiyon Mein Ranna, Land and People of Banni. And we used to shoot in daylight, so evening one was free. And it was my first visit. Of course, I had done Recce's earlier. But during the shooting, I realized that there is nothing wherever you look at in the desert. And if you look up, there are MiGs flying
Right.
because it's border
Right.
and Air Force station. So sky and land, and there is nothing else. No electricity, no water, nothing. So I thought, "Okay, what these children must be thinking? What must be going there in their mind?" So I used to sit with them in the evening and talk to them, even adults. And that is how my first feature film evolved. That idea of making a film. Mujhse Dosti Karoge.
Right.
Let's be friends. And then I finished that non-fiction film, Land and People of Bandi, went back to Mumbai. And I realized that when I visited desert, because in Mumbai you don't feel you're a citizen of this country. When you, in the sense that you're reminded, and your mind and eyes are hammered, like, look, mix flying, border security force, this, that. I said, my goodness, this is something. So I went back, and I kept on doing extensive workshops, and the script evolved. And there I was with the film, which people went gaga.
Right.
Over it, won 2 national awards, and then I didn't look back. And then it was only films, 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 films,
I see.
non-fiction. There used to be
Right.
telefilms, and that is it.
Now, this sounds fascinating. I'm very interested to know what happens when somebody wins not one, two national awards for a single film. It must have been quite a high for you.
I took it as a reward of my slogging,
Okay.
and my check from Children Film Society of India for a work of 2 years, 25,000. And I kept it
Okay.
in a locker, bank locker. I said, I'm not going to encash this and just save it. But the satisfaction that whatever you did, whatever you thought, and it's reaching out to people.
Right.
And I also got opportunity to screen that film in small, what we call C centers, like Amreli and
Right.
some villages and very small towns. And the same film in New York, same film in some other country. And I could see in theater that people had tears at the same time,
I see.
those particular scenes.
Right.
So it's universal, the emotions and whatever was part of that film. Film revolved around that 9-year-old boy in
Right.
a small village in Kutch, in Banni. So it was very satisfying.
Right.
And
And then,
after, sorry, and
no, go ahead.
after getting 2 national awards, it was a pressure. Your next has to go above it. And whenever you
Yes,
think of a subject or content or think of location or blah blah, I mean, that thing was, it used to kill me. It even now does. After each project, to go at least an effort to go above it.
right. As somebody who was celebrated as a director in that film, like I said, two national awards, what happens when you work under another director where your roles are not necessarily major ones, although interesting ones? We were talking the other day about your performance in Scoop, Hansal Mehta's Netflix series Scoop.
Gee,
Uh, Obviously, you acquitted yourself wonderfully as expected, but like you pointed out, it wasn't a big role. Now, as a director of substance, as a writer of substance, as a theater artist of substance, how do you scale yourself down to that level? Do you feel irritated? Do you feel, what the hell am I doing stuff like this?
no. You see, I love working with, including for Scoop Hansal Mehta, any director, because you get to learn so much, their way of handling things, their approach to the
Hmm.
whole thing. So it has been a big learning process for me
Right.
as an actor. And I keep on thinking, okay, he's doing this, the camera is here, why? If I have questions, I go and talk to them, not on the set, but after pack up. Okay, why this, why that? And Scoop, I did, you asked a very sensible, I mean, very nice question. It's not even a cameo.
Right.
But then after 2 days reading with Hansel Mehta, with the cast, and the script was some 700 pages, 700 something, but I read all the episodes,
I see.
entire web series, and after reading, I said, "Okay, Gopi, kuch bhi, you act, you die, you go topsy-turvy, nothing was going to affect as far as
Right.
that Nani's role in school."
Indeed.
So I said, forget about that internal thing. No acting is required. You need to work on something external as an actor. So then I thought of that scarf.
Right.
And I somewhere knew that people will remember, because in Gujarati families, we have seen our nanis, dadis, or some aunt always having that scarf, not only
Right.
in winters, even otherwise.
Yes.
So when the scoop released, hundreds of people just said, "Oh, it reminded me of so and so in my family. It was fantastic. That scarf added so much." I thought, thank God, at least I'm noticed with that scarf.
So that was your prop, is it?
It was my only creative contribution to Scoop.
Okay. Okay.
And I asked Hansel Bhai, because this kind of productions or
Yeah.
web series, and it was Netflix. So best of A grade designers and stylists and costumes and whatever they call, whatever you call them, the names. So I only asked Hansel Bhai that, can I have this scarf all the time, outdoor, indoor? He just looked at me and said, you want to do it? Karo, karo.
Acha.
So when the first day for the trial, when I dressed up and I had asked for a cloth and I tied that scarf, so the designers and the stylists, all of them came and looked at me. And I said, hey, this is looking so nice. I said, look, I asked Hansel Bhai and it is approved by him. Oh, then they said, oh, it's looking so nice, fantastic, too good.
Tell me, what is visibility of that kind on a platform like Netflix does to an actor? Do you notice a difference after having done that in terms of not just people reaching out for more roles, but personally, what did you feel? It's international visibility, right?
It is, absolutely. And it helps as an actor, And once uh, that visibility helps you, like I started getting so many offers after that.
I see.
And for me, behind the camera, as a writer, as a director, I work on my own scripts, and acting for me is a luxury.
I see.
It pays. You dress up, you do your makeup, your costume, sit there. Then they'll come and say, "Ma'am, shot is ready, please come." So you go and give your shot and come back and sit.
Right.
Whereas when I'm a maker, I'm a director, I'm on my toes 24 by 7, right from scripting to pre production to shoot to post production till the till the end.
Yeah,
So I like switching over to acting assignments
I
with the
see.
makers whom I appreciate, whom I like, and get
Right.
associated. So I switch over to acting like that.
You straddle both fiction and non-fiction. I was thinking of Munzer, for instance.
Yeah,
Uh, Tell me the creative approach to a piece of fiction and a piece of non-fiction, because non-fiction is unpredictable. You're not, you cannot write non-fiction, because if it's a documentary, you can't write it. It's, you just do with what is there, right?
right.
Describe to me how you approach as a director when it comes to both.
Fiction I approach, and in totality, you see it, right from the scripting stage. You start visualizing, and then the effort in is in execution to create that and to get as close to your vision along with DOP and the entire team.
Right.
And but then in fiction, what you try to do is make it as real as possible. It's like recreating reality. So at that point of time, for me, it turns into non-fiction.
Okay.
Say,
Right.
suppose a
Understood.
servant is supposed to enter, or a driver enters. We all have all those in India, luxuries. God, enters and says something. And in a fictional film, the same scene that the driver enters and says something, it has to look like a documentary,
Indeed.
as real. So in fiction, you are creating non-fiction, and non-fiction, you can't make it fictional, but the approach, the way narrative follows, and hence to the interest, to capture that interest of the audience, you have to make it into a storytelling, even non-fiction.
Right.
So, like film like Manzar, which
Right.
was an Amina case,
Right.
ages back in Hyderabad, and several recce's and blah blah, everything happened, and we met the family and the father, mother, that air hostess, all that happened. But when we landed with the crew and started shooting, it's a 47-minute long film, but you don't have a single frame of Amina in that film. So it's on the periphery.
Right.
I tried, so when I reached along with the crew at Amina's place, the door was closed. So very gently I knocked the window and I knocked the door and I said, "Ke, hello, ji, main aayi hoon in Hyderabad." I said, "Listen, we have decided that you will talk to the camera and Amina will talk." And the mother didn't open, the family didn't open the window, they didn't open the door. And from inside they said, "Oh, people like you, loga aata, jata, tamasha bana ke rakh diya hai, kya hai?" And they just scolded. So when I heard this, I told the sound recorders, "Just start rolling, at least record the sound."
Acha.
And we could never see Amina.
Right.
So it was very challenging. And then you try to, after the edit in nonfiction, you try to make it and put it, and the graph of it to turn into fiction.
Indeed, that's true. That's a very interesting way to look at it, because you are looking for dramatic points even in documentaries. Otherwise, who's going to watch it?
Who's going to watch? It's going to go flat and very boring
Yeah,
and
especially
informative.
especially now, I find, I'm sure it's probably true of India, but it's definitely true of this country. Documentaries look like feature films now. Production
Yes,
values are, I mean, they are shot with movie cameras.
yes,
So it's become like, I mean, it like you said, you flip it between the two.
yes.
It strikes me that given your long background and the kind of work you've done, why aren't you jumping into a full-length feature film at this stage of your career in life? What's stopping you? Apart from funding, of course, it's a challenge. I understand, but I'm sure you can raise it given your profile.
Yes, I keep on doing nonfiction, but I don't project myself. I don't talk much about it. And I don't know. I don't want to say even that it's my fate, like it's
No, no, I
likawa.
understand. Yeah,
And say, suppose if I talk about Mumbai, now we have corporate offices, and it's very controlled, and it's so the generation has changed,
right,
which television also faced. And the people there in positions, I'm not talking about CEO or CO or the owners, are youngsters, and that is Google generation.
right,
And if you talk about something or take a script, this doesn't happen. I'm just giving an by and large a bigger example. They don't understand, and their reference points are like, oh, or they'll just do on
yeah,
mobile. No, if you say Saurashtra and Kathiawar, they don't know difference between Kutch and Kathiawar.
right,
They don't know that Saurashtra is called Kathiawar.
right,
So it's very funny. So I'm struggling. I did try to make a Gujarati film where my financiers, investors, one was from France and one from Germany. And that film is editing stage now. And I
okay,
knew that it has to be a low budget film because regional film has a very limited recovery. So if your budgets are controlled, then you have, at least you can recover. And then the chances of profit. But that is stuck at editing stage. I've completed the editing and I'm looking for money to complete
oh, I
it.
see.
But, sorry?
No, no,
Sorry,
it's
did
an
you?
interesting. No, I'm saying it's an interesting segue for me because we have just emerged from the International Gujarati Film Festival, where the mood was that Gujarati cinema is in the phase of major rejuvenation and sort of a minor renaissance. First of all, as someone who is at the core of it all, do you see that as actually being the case? Or if it is, how do you plan to capitalize on that?
Well, I've written scripts and I'm working towards it, and my scripts are ready. And I'm waiting for finance, but it's still very, you know, at nascent toddler
Yeah,
stage, the Gujarati cinema. And if we compare it to other regional films like Marathi, uh, from Ahmedabad, 500 kilometers away, and the kind of cinema they make, their
right.
content, and those films are cinematic. There is cinema.
Yeah,
Forget South languages and other films. But Gujarati cinema, what you get to feel that people think that, oh, I know everything. And after watching almost all the films made, almost all the films made
right.
in past 3 4 years, I personally feel that the form which has emerged is somewhere proscenium stage, and it's between proscenium stage and television.
I see.
So what you see is like, oh, two actors sitting, coming, going, entry, exit, blah, blah, blah. The scene is done. and sometimes drone shots and blah. Okay, but the filmmakers, Gujarati cinema has to actually find, learn, and absorb, train themselves, and create cinema. I don't know whether I'm able
No, no, you
to.
are. In fact, I'm very glad you're mentioning that because for a long time it's been my grouse that by and large, Indian cinema, just forget Gujarati cinema, Indian cinema by and large would sound like radio plays. Cinema is incidental to cinema. I mean, I may be challenged for saying that, but in my judgment, the only person that India has produced who had a complete sense of cinema from every angle and who was a true cinematic genius was Satyajit Ray. No one comes anywhere close to him, not just in India, internationally. Uh,
Yes.
but you don't, even in this new lot of filmmakers, uh, without naming any of them, I cannot find a single exquisite cinematic frame in any film that you see these days. They forget that it is cinema, it's visual. At least give me one frame that I can hold. I'm not saying you should be Andrei Tarkovsky or Stanley Kubrick or Kurosawa, who
Yeah.
produced frame after frame after frame, but give me one.
No, but like, see, I'm an ardent fan of Adur Gopal Krishnan,
Yes,
Shaji Karun, couple of Bengali filmmakers, and Marathi cinema. Paresh Mukashi, who made Harishchandrachi Factory,
right.
Harishchandrachi Factory. So likewise, like I've seen Konkani films. Now,
Absolutely.
Konkan is a small region, but they create fantastic films. One film a year. So it does exist. It's not that after Ray Saab, Satyajit Ray, we have in different states, especially in Bengal and Malayalam cinema and Marathi cinema. We have good directors. We had Ketan Mehta in Gujarati.
Right.
But I'm talking about the contemporary lot. It's just not getting 2.5 CR, that is crores of rupees or
Yeah.
3 crores, and make a film where it doesn't turn into cinema. I'm sorry,
Right.
a lot of
It does.
people may hate me or dislike me, but I will say what I feel.
No, I
And
agree.
being on IGFF, we see all sorts of films and some other platform. And there is one Film Excellence Award also of Gujarati cinema, where this year I happened to see 79 Gujarati films.
Whoa.
So after watching all that, I'm saying, "Ki boss, you will remain a student of cinema. You don't know a thing. You have to learn. You have to get the exposure." And it doesn't just happen by watching one film a day. You need reading,
Right.
literature, poets, poems, watching paintings, talking about it, interacting with people. So that is what I mean. It's sad, but it lacks in Gujarati cinema.
Yeah. I would like to wrap it up by finishing that theme that you just mentioned. And like I said, we have just emerged from the IGFF and the fact that you have looked at Gujarati cinema so closely. Uh, do you see that Gujarati cinema can break away from that kind of thinking and truly begin to make an impact like other cinema in the country are?
I'm sure it will, because it cannot go on like this. There's no way. It will collapse.
Okay.
And cinema needs audience. Audience may not understand that, oh, this frame and this is cinematic and this is visually this, but it touches. And people know it, people feel it.
Right.
I'm sure it will reach and it would emerge. Since the beginning, it's just 7, 8 years now, uh, with the revival of Gujarati films and
Right.
that they what they call it urban cinema and urban films. but it has to, and it will, and it should.
Okay. And to before I let you go, what's with Ishq Next Door?
Oh,
Tell me, to make it more current, tell me a bit about that.
yeah, it's a love story, and somehow that kind of content has worked well with OTT platforms. So it's interesting. I'm still waiting. I've not heard much about that particular web series, but because it was released recently and I left for Chicago. But I hope it is received well. It's like Girl Next Door kind of a film.
I see. I see. And
Yes.
I think you should have had much greater success in Hindi cinema, given your obvious talents. Maybe you have chosen not to do it yourself. I mean, I
Yeah. And my thing is that I can't compromise. And
right,
when I venture into it,
yeah,
I'm like a dictator. I'm like a dictator. That should
okay,
be this. This has to be this. This is how it should be. So, not adamant, or it's not my ego,
hmm,
but I would not compromise at any stage with anybody. And
okay,
money cannot win me. Of course, I love money and I want it as much and more every day. But just for that, I will not make a film.
yeah,
Just for that, I will not do acting unless I'm convinced and unless it touches me.
indeed. No,
So
this is wonderful.
it's
Now,
a difficult choice which I've made for myself.
yeah,
So one waits as a freelancer from one project to the other project, and there is bound to be a lull period.
right.
But I sit and enjoy that also, and start thinking and writing script and think of something or do some research, and then venture into the next project.
So here is hoping that you are soon onto a blockbuster and make a lot of money, make a lot of international impact, and have fun.
Thank you so much, Mang Bhai.
Thank you, and
Lovely talking to you.